next unit 5 in our business statistics once. Okay, so first what we discussed in this business statistics, in first we have to discuss means what is the necessity of this business statistics, and how we are, what is the meaning of the statistics, and also what is how we are applying the statistics in business concerns. So we discussed in the first unit means basics we got discussed, and afterwards what we discussed, and how that is application of the statistics in business, what are the areas we can cover with the statistics in the business, what are those decision areas covered by the business statistics. So all these concepts related to the theoretical part we discussed, and afterwards we have calculated what is that measures of central tendency. In that central tendency what we calculated, so when the data means, so before that central tendency what we calculated here, how can we measure the data, how can we identify the data, and how can we represent the data, means that is codification, classification, tabulation, etc. Okay, diagrammatic representation, graphical representation, and what is that tabulation we discussed. Means first of all, in statistics, first of all we have to analyze the problem. To analyze the problem we have to identify the problem, then after identifying the problem we need to gather the information, and after gathering the information we have to select the suitable, means first of all after gathering the information we have to present that information. After presenting the information we have to analyze that information with suitable technique, then after analyzing we have to make the decision. So for this purpose, first of all, how can we gather the information, with what are those methods, population, census, sample, etc. we got discussed, and afterwards, after collecting the data, then we have to presenting the data by graphical representation and tabulation, means to know the nature of the data. Then afterwards, we calculated the central tendency, that is mean, median, mode, to know that frequency of that particular distribution, particular information. So that is the mean, median, mode. Then afterwards, measures of dispersion, how that distribution will be. Range we got calculated for mean deviation, quartile deviation, percentiles, and afterwards standard deviation, and after standard deviation, skewness of the distribution, that is how that distribution curve will be there. So for that purpose, Carl Pearson Q, Bowley's skewness, Carl Pearson skewness, and Kelly's skewness, and afterwards we got discussed kurtosis. So these are all nothing but different techniques we applied in statistical to know that, to identify that how the distribution will be. Then here in this next fifth unit concept is nothing but correlation. Correlation is nothing but name itself we are getting the meaning. What is the meaning of the correlation? Correlation, nothing but a relationship between any two variables is nothing but correlation. Already it is connection or relation between two variables. Here we can take any two variables for our example. For example, we can take the demand and price. So here price increases, demand decreases. According to the law of demand, price is going to increase, then demand is going to decrease. So that is a correlation we have. Means we both are dependent each other. One depends on another, and one variable is going to affect the other. Both the two variables will be there in relation. That relationship is called correlation. So not only in the business examples, in our daily examples, any area we can identify the correlation. Okay, what is the consumption? Relationship between the consumption and relation, means consumption of the food, and relationship between the consumption of the food and also gathering the food. That is the relation, gathering the food and consumption of the. According to the consumption, we are going to gather the food. So according to that, what is that expenditure? What is the spending we are for the entertainment, and expenditure we are spending for the food? There is a relationship between there. So how it is related? How much expenditure we are spending for the food? How much expenditure we are spending for the entertainment for our daily life? So not only in that business context, in every area of the human being nature, we can exist that correlation concept. Here, when two variables are affecting the situation, then what are those two variables? What is the relationship between those two variables is nothing but the correlation. That is the meaning of the correlation. Is it clear? That is relationship or connection between any two variables is nothing but the correlation. That two variables may be a demand and price. Here we have various demand determinants according to our economics. So various demand determinants. What are those determinants? Price of the product, income level of the customer, taste and preferences, and prices of the related goods. All these are all the determining the demand. So every variable we can take, price and demand, there is a correlation. Price and income level of customer, there is a correlation. Demand and that, what is that, price of related substitutes, that is a correlation. Means in every area of the demand or every area of the business, we can exist the correlation when one variable is going to affect the another variable. One thing is going to affect the another situation. One situation is going to affect the another situation. So according to that, increments and strikes. So based upon the increments, strikes will be there. If increments are getting more, strikes are going to less. Like this means there is a, if you are giving the proper increments to the employees and the workers, then the workers are not bonus and strike. There is a relationship between the variables. So that different variables, we are getting that relationship. We are identifying the relationship and we are measuring the relationship. That relationship is nothing but the correlation. That is clear. Correlation is nothing but connection or relation between any two variables is nothing but the correlation. For here, we can take it as example, demand and price. Similarly, demand and income. So here we can write n number of examples we can write for the correlation. So demand and price, demand and income of the customer. So we can write different examples for this correlation concept. That is the meaning of the correlation. Next concept is various types of the correlation. Types of correlation means how many types we can correlate the variables. Okay, here first type is nothing but positive correlation. Positive correlation means here the correlation is nothing but relationship between two variables. Here in the positive correlation is nothing but if one variable affects the other variable in positive direction. If one variable increases, if here we are having x1, x2, then x1 increases and x2 is also going to increase is nothing but positive correlation. X1 increases, X2 is also going to increase. There is nothing but positive correlation. So, for example, here we can take demand and income level of customer. If income level of customer is going to increase, the demand of the luxury products is going to increase. So, for example, customer wants to purchase the luxury product. If suddenly the income of a particular customer has raised, then that particular customer is go and purchase the luxury product. That is, both are in positive direction. Here, income increases, the product is getting the demand. Which product here? The luxury product is getting the demand. So both are in the positive direction. That is nothing but the positive correlation. And next, coming to the negative, this is positive correlation. Both are in positive direction, same direction. Either it may be increase or decrease direction. For example, one variable is decreasing and another one is also going to decrease is nothing but the positive correlation. Means both the variables are in the same direction is nothing but positive correlation. Next, coming to the negative correlation. Negative correlation means if one variable is increasing, the another is going to decrease is nothing but negative correlation. One variable increases, then the another variable is going to decrease. This is nothing but negative correlation. For example, here the two variables x1, x2, then one variable is increasing and another one is going to decrease. This is the negative relationship between the variables. Here, how can we measure this negative relationship? If, for example, if we are taking the demand and the price. So, if price increases according to the law of demand, if price increases, the demand of the product is going to decrease. If price decreases, the demand of the product is going to increase. So, both are in reverse direction. That is nothing but negative correlation. Okay, that is nothing but negative correlation. That is both are in opposite direction. Okay, inversely proportional to each other. These two are directly proportional to each other. In positive correlation, both the variables are directly proportional to each other. Negative correlation inversely proportional to each other. That is negative. One variable increases, another variable is going to decrease. That is negative. Next, coming to zero correlation. Zero correlation means there is no relationship between any two variables. That is no correlation, nothing but no correlation. So we need not to discuss it about this no correlation. Why? Because there is no relation means there is no correlation also. So that is zero correlation. So sometimes we may use this correlation, but there is no relationship means zero relationship is nothing but the zero correlation. And next one is linear correlation. Linear correlation means linearity means x, y, two variables. So the gradually either it may be positive or negative if the relationship frames a linear equation is nothing but linear correlation. If that relationship which forms the straight line trend, straight line nature is nothing but linear correlation. Okay. If it is forming the straight line, it is forming this is it nothing but the linear correlation, linearity. So for example, the line will be like this. That is linear correlation. Okay. Means both the variables in the direction. So that line will be like this. That is a linear correlation. Then non-linear means the line will be not straight line, not a line. So it will be curve nature. It is non-linear correlation. So here all these are the different variables having the relationship with each other. That is positive relationship. We can say it as a positive correlation. Negative relationship, inverse relationship, it have the negative correlation. There is no relationship between the variables. We can say it as a zero correlation. If the relationship is framing the straight line is nothing but the linear relationship, linear correlation, but is not making a curved line between the variables is nothing but non-linear correlation. And after that, simple correlation means if the relationship is going to be a simple, is nothing but one variable increases, another variable decreases. Simply, it is called as simple correlation. Okay, one is affecting the other is nothing but the simple correlation. Nothing but same direction, either x1, x2. It may be same direction or opposite direction. Whatever that is, we can say it as a simple correlation. One increasing, another decreases. One decreases, same direction, same magnitude, it is going to increase or decrease is nothing but the simple correlation. And coming to the partial correlation, x1 and x2 two variables are there. So x1 is affecting, x1 increases, x2 is going to increase. Then x1 is increases, x1 still not increasing. This means half of the part is increases and x2 is still increasing. There is no negative direction. Still after reaching a certain limit, it will not affect the other variable, but other variable still increasing is nothing but the partial correlation. Okay, simple means the magnitude will be the same between the variables is nothing but the simple correlation. In this partial correlation, the magnitude, some extent it is the constant. After some extent, the magnitude will be the constant. That is nothing but the partial correlation. And coming to the multiple correlation, x1, x2, x3, x4, and so on. Here, x1 is affecting, means x1 is increasing due to the x2, x3, x4. Means here, n variables will be there in the situation. Means two or more variables will be there. The situation affecting the situation is nothing but the multiple correlation. So here, for example, we have taken the example of the demand. This demand is affected by n different variables, means price of the product, income level, taste and preferences, prices of related goods, prices of substitutes, prices of dependent goods. From all these different factors, the demand is going to affect. These affecting means when we are considering all these factors in the correlation point of view, then we can say it as a multiple correlation. Here in this different correlation concepts, we could discuss here what is that positive, negative, zero, linear, non-linear, simple, partial, and multiple correlation.